So welcome everybody to Web Class Wednesday, and welcome if you're live in the room. We'd love to have you here live, and welcome if you're listening to the recording. Tonight we're going to talk about your author brand and how what you do now before you're even an author will start to determine the brand that you are, because you are your brand. So I'm going to go over the blog that I wrote, which has got some kind of really good information in there. And I want to kind of reiterate some of that when it comes to branding, because your brand started the day you were born. That's when your brand began. Right? So when people are talking about writing their books and, they're putting this book out into the world, there's part of that book that requires your attention as far as promotion. And when you're starting to promote your book, you're not only promoting the book that you've written, but you're in fact promoting yourself. So when I talk often about becoming an author, we kind of want to go back to basics a little bit. And I've seen it often. I saw it in the 20 plus years that I was really focused on PR and promotion before I really incorporated literary into my platform. And I represented major events and theater companies and launches. And I was, acted as a publicist, and I did all these big major media launches all over. And part of my work with my clients was to always keep their brand in alignment with who they are. And what's so important about focusing on your author brand is that it's necessary to do it now. So it doesn't mean I wrote a book, now I'm going to go out and be that person. You need to be that person now. And you need to establish what that brand is now. So who is that person walking in your shoes that's going out there and marketing themselves? Okay, so I'm just going to go back into my text and read just a little bit. I have here, so back to basics, right? Part 1, and I have part 2, 3, and 4 of this. You are your author brand. So I'll tell you what those are going to be in subsequent calls. But this one says that character and integrity are my 2 biggest value points in life. You begin building your greatest asset, your billboard of self, your brand, on the day of your birth. There's a difference between a brand and branding. How so? Your brand, which I always put with a capital B, comes to life the moment you're born. My brand came to life on the 18th of May, 1963. How about you? Thinking about all the parts of you that make up your personality, your qualities, your traits, your characteristics. Think back over your lifetime, because I'm going to ask you to pay attention to that when we're done. You may develop many branding platforms for products or services along the way, but you must pay careful attention to follow through with your thoughts, actions, and behavior to support your brand, or your most important asset will be gone with the wind. I've seen it. We see it out there in the real world every day. It takes years to build a quality brand. It takes one error of judgment and it's gone. Okay, and that's true to life. That happens all the time. So your brand is your code. Your brand takes many years to develop and become your primary law of your existence by which you stand. By turning your back on some of the basics, you can also destroy your brand, and we don't need to look very far in today's news headlines to witness real-life examples. By extension, who you are, your brand, will become the very foundation of your business, your author platform, your future, and your legacy. Consider these as essentials in your brand. So my essentials, and this is part of a document I created 3-4 years ago called You Are Your Brand. So I've just taken excerpts from it that are so relevant now, especially the work that we're doing now as authors. We want to make sure that we get out in front of this like right now while you're writing your books, so you can always be aware of who you're showing up as in the big marketplace, because we've got social media, which we're always, representing ourselves in some way on social media, and we'll get to that part after. So here's the essentials that are part of kind of my bank, my code. Your word, your handshake, your moral code, your beliefs, your genuine mentorship to others, your strength of quality, the manner by which you communicate your ideas and points of view, your level of respect for yourself and others, your use of basic manners, your observance and adherence to the golden rule, your conduct in all situations, your leadership, your expression of deep gratitude and appreciation, your desire for excellence through hard work, harming no one, your service to your community, your authenticity, your values, your sense of justice, and equally important, what you stand up for and stand against. It's the company you keep. It's your circle of life. It's a compass, and you must be unwavering at how it guides your actions. It takes only one moment to change its direction and set you permanently off course. Be solid and steadfast, genuine and true, because it really is all about you. You know that expression that you hear, what's all about? Yes, it is all about you, right? And here's sometimes the challenge that I've had, okay, as a coach, as a teacher, as a mentor, and I'm working, really guiding somebody along. And I'm paying attention because I'm kind of like a mother hen that way. You know, I'm always looking around saying, oh yeah, that's great, commenting, get likes, and, you know, like promoting and sharing and encouraging. But by the same token, it's happened a number of times where I will see something untoward. And I feel like it's my responsibility to kind of rein them in a little bit. For example, social media, it's easy to trip up there. And so if you were to think about who is an author you admire, whoever that may be, it could be the Stephen Kings of the world, it could be the Gabby Bernsteins of the world, it could be, you know, it could be Eckhart Tolle, it could be whoever it is you admire so much as an author figure. And you have to ask yourself, would they be posting political nonsense on their Facebook wall? Right? When you go to share something that may or may not be controversial, it doesn't mean you have to stop believing in what you believe in, but you always have to have in the back of your mind this little question that says, am I behaving like an author at this moment? Is what I'm about to comment on that person's page, is it worthy of my brand? Because people will always judge if you're in alignment. So, for example, happened also where you have an author that's creating a wonderful brand in their book about kindness and love and compassion, and they're building a beautiful brand around that. Yet on their Instagram feed and on their Facebook feed, they're doing the exact opposite. Okay? You are tarnishing your brand every time. And people think, well, you know, I'm just on my free time. I'm not wearing my author hat right now. I'm on my Facebook page. I can do whatever I want. I can post really whatever I want. And that's true and all. But I'm going to tell you, you won't sell books. You won't be taken seriously. You won't have credibility because your brand is not in alignment with who you are. So people feel that you're disingenuous. They feel that they don't really know whether they can trust you. And part of our biggest challenge as authors is to engage our reader and to invite them to trust us, to be able to help them. So one of your biggest challenges, okay, is going to be, until it becomes really natural, and it's probably natural to you right now, I'm probably preaching to the choir for everybody, but to be always aware of how you show up. Because you may write your book today, you may write it in 2 years from now. But when the time comes, I guarantee you people will remember what you said, what you did, and then they'll question your brand. So when I say you are your brand, you are absolutely a walking, talking billboard all the time. The moment you've chosen to be a leader, which is writing a book, you're an author, you're an authority, your book now goes out into the big, big world. You are considered a leader. So how do leaders behave? right? It takes no time at all for a brand to go off road where it just doesn't make sense. So if I were to ask you, okay, to take 5 minutes and just take out a piece of paper and say to yourself, what is my author brand, right? What are my most successful qualities, my character traits, okay? Because they're going to be woven into your brand and your branding, but it all begins with you. So when you take that leadership role, you say to yourself, okay, I'm an author. This is who I am. This is who I am as a person. This is who I am as a business owner. This is who I am as an entrepreneur. This is who I am as a leader. Okay. Take a few minutes and write down all the qualities, okay, about yourself that you believe and know are true, and how you know that they're going to become part of your author brand. Okay, so take a few minutes to do that. Part of the building of that author brand from the foundation up is worth doing the exercise now. Because when your book is forthcoming, it's part of the energy of you. And when it's part of the energy of you, you need to be exemplifying that energy at all times. Okay? So, building your author brand, it involves your mindset. It involves your mission and your vision. It involves your talent. It involves your self-image, your credibility, your value, your platform, your personality and your qualities, your communication, your self-promotion mastery, your media appeal. That's going to be another class for another day called Media Madness. I know about both those words individually and together. There is a fine art to media relations. I'm going to teach you what I know. Okay? Branding follows brand. Affluence follows influence, and it's based on brand excellence. So this author thing that you're doing, understand that this is real serious stuff. Okay, because now as a leader, you are being looked to for counsel, you're being looked to for authority, and you're going to want to be in a position to be able to be rock solid as far as who you are, and every time you communicate, to be completely in harmony with that brand. Now we have Samantha on the call. Samantha does self-promotion. We have another class on that, by the way, self-promotion, also a fine art. Okay, but self-promotion mastery, it doesn't matter at what level you are at your business. All I can tell you is you're going to have to learn how to self-promote. Okay, and there's a big difference between self-promotion and my favorite Brendan Burchard word, braggadocious. Okay, so when Brendan Burchard talks about braggadocious, he says, you know, you're not out there shining the light on yourself by putting someone else's light out. You're shining your light to allow other people to walk in their light. When you're promoting what you're doing, you're sharing your light with other people to the benefit of others. You're in service to other people. You can tell right away when somebody flips over into the other camp. When they're promoting something online, on Facebook, for example, or on Instagram, and you get that creepy feeling where you go, Oh my gosh, like I don't even want to go to that event. I don't even like the way they're talking about it. It's all about them, all about them, all about them. Self-promotion is in fact all about you, but it's all about you in relation to how you can help somebody else. It's not just about you. So we'll cover that in another class. So did you take some time to write a few things down about yourself? It's a hard exercise, right? Because we're so used to saying, yeah, well, I don't do this very well. I'm not so good at that. And I have a challenge doing that, but I don't want you doing that. Your brand is never going to survive any of those things because guess what? They're all lies anyway. The only thing that's true is what's good and real, and you know what they are deep in your gut. So who wants to share the qualities about their brand? Go ahead, Gabriella. I'll unmute you. Hang on. You can unmute you.
There we go.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. So anxious. I was so anxious. I thought yesterday was Wednesday.
I know. I love it.
So two things I wanted to say. I'm so excited about tonight's call because, believe it or not, last night I was sitting in front of my computer and I was trying to think of how to either start a new Instagram page or a new Facebook page because I want to promote myself. Mm-hmm. And I came up with blanks. I didn't know where to start. And so you talking about branding tonight is like right on point. I also went to a class on earlier this week, and we had to actually do something similar to this. So I'm fired. I'm pumped. I feel like as though everything is funneling for this evening. Anyways, I'm talking too much. Okay.
No, not at all. No, it's all good because it's all in. I love it when it's in perfect timing. It always is, but it's nice. It's nice when you know it. So.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah. So I got a lot of clarity with this class, and I'm getting even more this evening. So this exercise it was a little bit easy because I'm beginning to believe it. So I feel like as though I am a leader. I do feel like as though I have the light, and I do know that I've inspired other people. I know I'm also authentic, funny, and kind, and very thoughtful.
Yeah. What else? Come on, you got more. You got more in you.
I know I'm also of service to others. Okay, more. I can't go on.
You've got talent. Right? You've got perseverance. You've got discipline. Right? No. You guys are on a call here on Wednesdays. There's a lot of discipline in the room.
Yeah, I suppose. Right? I guess my list can be a little bit longer, but
yeah, we can all make a longer list, but all of those things serve you really well. Like if you think about the brand that you're going to create when you have your manuscript completed, for example. Okay, yes. All of those things, you can imagine how they interact with the brand of that author, right? Because your book has its own content, its own appeal, but anywhere that you see, any of the thought leaders that are currently, you see them the most often. They're representing themselves in positive ways all the time, and they're representing other people in positive ways all the time, right? You won't see them out of alignment with their brand. If they do that, they don't last because people don't follow people who are not genuine. You know that expression, people don't care what you know until they know that you care?
Yeah.
Okay? It's so true all the time. So you want to be able to say, if someone were to say, tell me about Gabriella, you want to know that you've behaved in a certain way enough that they would also identify the same qualities that you've identified in yourself.
Gotcha.
Okay? So you're constantly doing it out there, and you're constantly out there. So your Instagram page, and we can do I'm going to do a class also on social media and creating some of your branding on Canva. I was talking to Valerie about that, and just share the screen and have some fun, and everybody can go get Canva and we can do some kind of branding stuff and identity things and whatnot. So there's a lot of ways to do it. But you can't do really any of it until you know what your brand is.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So you've identified who am I and who am I in this big world? What do I bring to the table? What are the qualities that I want other people to know about me so that they know they can trust me when my book is out or my business is out or my coaching program is out or my speaking tour is on, or all of these things that are part of our branding start with us. You are your brand. So who else would like to share? Tracy?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, I found this interesting because I'm actually been working on my values in general.
Yay.
And when you were saying how our brand started when we're born, I was born with muscular dystrophy. I actually spent my childhood in a wheelchair. I now walk, I teach yoga, and that took me 20 years.
Awesome.
So I picked perseverance.
Yes.
Compassionate and empathetic, especially towards the underdog. Strong, honest, realistic, logical, and intuitive. Open to change, getting outside my comfort zone, trying new things. I see shades of gray, not just black and white. I can see the bigger picture, and I'm also detail-oriented.
That's a great combination of qualities. And what is it? So you're teaching yoga. Is that your career path? Is that your service?
No, I'm actually an editor and translator.
You are?
Yeah, I've been doing that for 31 years. So I've been writing for other people. This is the first time I've decided to do something for myself.
That's terrific. Are you writing a book yourself as well?
Yeah, I've got 2 on the go. One is specifically about living with a chronic disease. I taught chronic disease and chronic pain self-management at a hospital for 10 years.
Okay.
So I learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work and how we have self-defeating thoughts and that.
Sounds like a great book. We're going to have a conversation, you and I.
And the other one is more historical fiction about my great-great-grandfather. I have his diary when he came over to Canada in 1830. And he was head of the, what they call the Indian problem in British Columbia at the time.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be fiction because there's holes. So to fill them in. So that's more of I guess, a labor of love.
Yeah, passion project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love them both. I think that's wonderful. I get so excited when I hear stories. That's who I am. That's where I come from. So congratulations. I'll reach out to you, or you can reach out to me when we get off the call. And if I can help you in any way, put some kind of color in there, I'm happy to do that. And translation, we'll have a conversation about that as well. That's really good. Okay, thanks for sharing. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Valerie Connell, what do you have to say this fine evening?
Don't make me talk after Tracy. That was like, wow, amazing.
Everything's all wow and amazing. Come on, we get on a call at 6 a.m. and talk then. So
Geez. No, but like for real, like Tracy, I bow to you. Like seriously, you are just amazing. Which country did your founding people come from?
Originally, that's actually another story. He was from Wales. She was a countess from Spain. She was Catholic. He was Protestant. For them to be together, they had to come to Canada. It was a case of love at first sight. She gave up her title. He was actually the first person in my family who's university educated. I'm the second. So he was hired by the British Columbian government right away. And his diary is the first 4 years of their life in Canada.
That's just outstanding.
Yeah, the real diary is actually in a museum in Victoria, British Columbia. I've got a photocopy.
Wow. Well, good on you to put that history together and keep it alive.
Oh, I can't wait until you write that. I love historical fiction. Oh my God.
Okay. There, you have a reader already. See what happens in these gatherings?
Holy crap. That's just amazing. Okay, so I actually did a similar exercise a while ago. How do I want to describe my ideal self? Which
Okay.
I think is related to branding, right?
Yep.
So the things that I wrote down were insightful, ethical, honest, innovative, articulate, solution-oriented, motivated, motivating, respectful, funny, inspires trust, compassionate, persistent, authentic. And then tonight I wrote, and it was so funny, I never thought of my brand starting on my birthday. But when you said that, I suddenly thought about how people, like the gist that I have of myself from what other people have always told me,
Yep.
like growing up, like my friends and all of that. So I'm the go-to person. She knows stuff. You can talk to her. She cares about you. She listens. She's been there. Honest, empowering, comforting, positive self-regard, funny, but serious when it's necessary. Like she'll
Good.
call you when you're shit.
That's it's. So when you're setting up your brand for yourself, you want to take all those qualities and understand that you embody all of those every time you communicate about anything.
Anything.
Anything. So
Right.
I remember one client in particular a few years back. She's in the States, and she's not a she's a political supporter of one over the other.
Okay. Yeah.
I won't get into political conversation here.
Right.
But she was there was often commentary on a page, and then you know what happens with that kind of thing. There's combativeness that comes with that. There's arguments that come with that. There's all sorts of just toxicity that comes with that. And so in no way do you ever want to be associated with anything in that, like, it's not healthy to begin with. Forget, branding. It's not healthy anyway, but that's social media. Everyone's got an opinion. The good news and the bad news is everyone's got an opinion. So you have to make decisions as to whether you want to engage in these conversations, because everything you engage in, people see. They really do. So I rarely will comment on anything anywhere, and so they're positive comments. But even when I post a positive comment somewhere, I'll see that somebody saw that. So your name pops up all over the place. You never know who's watching. So you got to presume that people are watching you all the time.
Right.
Okay. So it's really important to be always aware that you're building your brand every minute, and it will benefit you when you create whatever your business platform is, that you've spent a lot of time being mindful of how you've represented yourself. Okay. Because a lot of people don't think so much about that. It's like, yeah, okay, well, I'll say whatever because, I'm allowed to have my opinion. Yeah. Depends on how much you want to build a business, though. Depends on who you want to be in the world, right?
Right.
So it's all really important. Okay, so here we go. Jenny Q. Thanks, Valerie. That was awesome. Jenny Q. Tell me about you, Jenny Q.
I didn't actually get the hint that we were supposed to write stuff down, but it's all in my head because we had a conversation earlier today. It's not all there, but I want to do it two parts. So the first part, I'll just answer the question directly, which is hard for me because I yammer. But anyway, so definitely when people, I've done personal development for so long and self-evaluation and stuff. So things that are always consistent that come up are I'm patient, I'm funny, I'm genuine, and I don't know how to describe it, but like I'm just that go-to person where anyone can sit with me and feel comfortable. I'm that person who, like, if I'm out at a museum or I'm on a street corner, I'm just that stranger people always come to and ask for directions, and I'm like, I'm not from here, but we could, that's me. But It's true. I just have that face. I think it's because I'm as tall as a child, so I'm just not intimidating. I think that's what it is. But I'm also loud, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, people think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, especially for someone who wants to do children's stuff. And so
you're a storyteller, so
I'm completely a storyteller. But the thing that I want to share with everyone that from our conversation earlier today, which I think specifically just from what I've seen from this group, especially Gabriella and Wanda, I think they'll really kind of latch onto it, is the fact that when we're talking about my purpose and my book and all that, and when I was talking about my goal is to help those that are lonely and broken and unwanted and feel alone in the world, because that's how I feel. And you took a moment and you said, but flip that around, because you're not those things, you're actually the opposite of those things, but because you can identify those things, you're the opposite. So the fact that I feel alone a lot of the time, because I've had a lot of loss, like my parents are passed, my aunts passed, my best friend passed away, the man I was dating passed away, like all of these things, you know, like I feel so alone. But then, you know, then you point out, like, I have this group and I have people at work who care, and I have, you know, so I'm not really as alone as I think I am, but I can certainly identify with those that are lonely, and that comes through my writing. And I can identify with those who feel awkward or alienated, or the odd person out, or the fifth wheel, or the, you know. And so even when I talk to people right now, when I talk to people, I always see them, and I'll point out the things that make them unique and amazing. And I don't realize that that's a skill, but it is. So,
but it's also a mirror, Jenny. So if you're able to point out to other people how they're unique and amazing, we see in other people what we see in ourselves. So understand that what you see in other people is in fact your real true beliefs about yourself. You're just living by the lie. You're just reiterating the old story. And this is why when we do the work on how we think, right, it's so powerful for us to really learn to change the way we think. And that comes down to all of those tens of thousands of habitual thoughts that come into our head, the same as yesterday, the same as the day before. And then our work becomes interrupting that pattern of thought. So next time when you go to have one of those habitual thoughts about how you feel alone, or any one of those thoughts, you go, no, that's not what's going on here. That was then, that's how I thought, but I don't think like that now. I'm the uplifter. I'm the one people go to for directions. I'm the one who tells amazing children's stories. I'm the one that makes other people see all the wonderful things about themselves. That's the real me. Okay, and that's what will be reflected in your brand. Okay, don't make any mistake about it. You're going to be sitting down with your Willie storybooks and all of the different books that are in your series, and people are going to be sitting and picking, okay, which Willie adventure? Okay, let's go to the one at Mapleton Farm. And you're going to be sitting down talking to those kids, and every single one of those qualities you just talked about are all going to come out, because that's who you actually really are. So, you know, we need to take the time to say to ourselves, I have every single thing that I need, okay, to become whatever it is I know I'm called to be. And becoming and taking responsibility for the greatness is all part of that work. So walking in the footsteps of being that author, that's your responsibility. That's not just something that you get to blow off. You got to say to yourself, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to stand taller and I'm going to show up, because that's who I am and that's who I'm called to be. And you don't get a book idea unless it's meant for you. Right? So, you know, no turning back.
So you keep saying. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah. So repetition is really powerful.
Yeah.
We know that from the work we do at TIR. We know that through, you know, whatever mentor you have. You know, even your teacher used to make you write lines if you did something she didn't like, just the power of repetition.
Well, I mean, even in being in this group and being invited to be part of this, like when we listened to like Wanda talk about her book and the pinata theory and all those other theories, and I've said to you, like, you know, I've said to you, oh, mine's just a children's book. Like, I'm going to a dairy farm. Like, how life-changing is that? I mean,
how awesome is that?
No, but I'm saying before, like, that's how I would look at it. And
right.
Like, as we were talking now, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of neat. But what I'm saying is that's just how I naturally am. Like I look at Wanda and I look at Gabriella and I look at all the other ladies as I'm getting to know them in here, and I'm like, man, they're so bold and they're so amazing and and I'm talking about a cow and its udders. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm a city girl, like a city kid, right? So there's tons of city kids who are never going to know what an udder is until they read my book, and then they'll know. It's good.
There's tons of kids now that are only going to know what an udder is because they look it up on Google.
Yeah.
Okay? You're giving them a picture book. You're giving them the old-fashioned way of sitting down with mom and dad. Okay? You're taking a community, a place in your own community. You're making them familiar. And next time we do a sponsorship for that. Okay? No free advertising.
Yeah, I know.
First book. Let's see how all of that goes. You're doing marketing. And so you have a place in the community where people go, oh my gosh, that's what really happens there. Mom and dad are going to want to take their kids to see how ice cream is made because they don't need a YouTube video for it. They can learn about it in a book. I have throughout all my marketing material that I do newfangled business in the old-fashioned way because it never goes out of style. Okay? Books are never going to go out of style. Ebooks are never going to take over the world. People want paper. They want tactile. They want to have a book on their nightstand. They want to go and cuddle up with their kids, not with a screen on a phone. They want a book. Their kids want to touch the book. They want to eat the corners of the book.
Yeah, it's gross.
So it's a really, really important thing for the next generation of kids. I see it all the time. Kids with screens, and they're so young. So you're actually contributing to the literacy of the next generation. So think about it in that bigger way. Okay, Valerie?
I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask real quick, Jenny, where are you, sweetie?
I'm in Waterloo, Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a book signing here in the West Island at Babar Books because all of the school boards buy their books from Babar Books.
Yeah.
So
Perfect venue. But picture books, honestly, like they're the best. My best memories with my kids is reading them picture books before bed. I volunteered in my kids' libraries so I could, and the best part was reading them a book. The kids fucking loved it. Yeah. I mean, that was the highlight of their day. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't underestimate. Now you're influencing the next generation of kids. So when you're saying it's only a kid's book, it's like, oh no, it's a kid's book.
Yeah.
It's a kid's book. So own it.
Okay.
For sure.
Thank you, Valerie.
Yeah. So good. So good. Okay, Samantha, we had qualities. Let's go. Off to the races, Samantha.
My qualities, I put definitely integrity. That's something for me that's it's so precious. I don't even have words for it. It's like empathy, a safe space to really express. That's really what I want to bring. That's really the energy that I bring, to be a safe space for somebody to express who they are, to feel is the connection, it's the intimacy, to be able to be really yourself and really connect at a deeper level. It's like, I often say, I write not for people to read, but for people to feel.
Yeah. That's
really what I try to reach for.
And you're doing regular branding all the time, and it's always very aligned with who you are. Yeah.
My personal Facebook page, like my beautiful disaster Facebook page, I'm the one and the same. There's no separation in either. And that's actually something, I'll share this with everybody, because regardless of where you're at, when I had done this, it wasn't consciously. It was just who I am. So later in the game, I look back and it's like, there's no separation. I am who I am. And it's a good feeling, because sometimes as when, like you talk about the branding and stuff like that, sometimes you feel a bit lost and you feel unsure. And I still have a lot of that uncertainty because we're always expanding and growing. But just go with what feels right.
Yeah.
You may be scared out of your mind because some of the stuff that I post is pretty edgy. So I feel vulnerable. You know, it's like, I mean, my face became the brand of Beautiful Disaster, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it. I wasn't even consciously aware. But it was to really bring about that vulnerability. And that's a big part of what I bring to the world as well, is the vulnerability. That's what
Yeah,
I want people
and
to
on
feel.
your book cover is your face because it's your brand. Yeah. But
Never did I think that.
But you see how that worked? Your face needed to be on the front because you had been branding yourself that way all along.
Yeah.
So what were you going to put? A big butterfly on the front? Right? Well, we got your butterfly in and we got it all through the book. But I mean, you know,
oh God.
you needed your face there. A beautiful cover the boys did for you.
Oh my God. Amazing. And was able to capture in that cover the intimacy and the vulnerability.
Yes.
And the contrast, the oxymoron, obviously, Beautiful Disaster. And I think that a big part of who I am is I inspire self-leadership. I really want people to lead themselves.
Yeah.
And especially, and it's coming back to self-trust. Everything starts and ends with self. So personal responsibility is something too that I bring a lot to the table. You know, it's like we're all crying for freedom, but with freedom comes immense responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's this knowing of self. But yet, in how I show up, I also talk about, we don't always really know we're always in a discovery of self, right? So I talk about that dance of back and forth. And it's okay to screw up. It's actually good. You know, it's like one of the quotes in the book, you know, you made a mistake today, fan-frickin-tastic. That means you showed up. It's no big deal. So that and qualities that I bring, but what has been often told to me, obviously because, I mean, I share a lot of material, so I get a lot of feedback that I was surprised. I often hear people tell me that I'm mesmerizing in a soothing kind of way. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because that was never an image that I had of myself.
Yeah.
No, it's not a complete contradiction because I kind of know when I go into a space of when I'm receiving somebody, I'm there to serve them. It has nothing at all to do with me.
But we have two self-images, right? We have the image that we think of ourselves and the image that other people think of us, so that we know that they think of us. So that's all so good. And so, you know,
constant learning.
But of course you are. But by contrast, let's say, for example, you decided tomorrow that you were having a bad day and you were going to go post something that was super contrary to what people expected of you. Okay? You could really tear down your brand really fast. Tear down your trust from your followers and your community so fast.
It's something you said in the beginning when you character, because, you know, opinions, reputation, they're like fads. They come and they go. You know, it doesn't stick. But your character, how you choose to show up and how you choose to respond versus react. It doesn't mean that, you know, we don't have a fool up or whatnot. That's fine. However, that's one of the things I ask myself often when I go to post something, because sometimes I want to post something because it might be something that I'm living more at a personal level, and then I get ready to do it, then it's like, oh, Samantha, no. So I know it don't feel right. I know it's almost like I want to jab. You know, it's like I want to. So it's like, oh, okay, no, this don't. So
that's what I'm talking about. That's the awareness you have to bring to your brand, but all the time, even when you're not consciously building maybe a community, even though you're always building the community. As soon as you start talking about a project you're doing, you're already building your community. Okay.
Already.
I mean, I'm going to go over a couple of other things before we wrap up. But there's you know, When I was a kid, my mother used to say, my grandmother used to say this expression. She used to say, mind your P's and Q's. You ever hear that expression? It's an old-fashioned,
Yes.
I don't know, British expression, right? But the way I use it now, your P's and Q's are your personality and your qualities. Okay? You've got to be
Beautiful.
mindful of that all the time. You've got to mind your manners, right? You've got to think these old-fashioned ways. These are the basics. I repped an actor, an actress, Tasha Lawrence, and she works in New York most of the time and all over the States. And I know her personally through her family, but she was coming to do a show in Montreal, and she was doing a one-woman show in Montreal, and part of my work was to promote her and to get as much media attention on her as I could. And I developed these awesome relationships with media because they're relationships with people. It doesn't matter what their job is. You've got to build a relationship with that media person. You got to know who their kids are. You got to know where their kids go to school. You've got to actually take an interest in those people. And I got her, I was very fortunate. I got a ton of media for her, and my big three, my CTV and my CBC and my Global, and they were all around, and they were paying her a lot of attention and lots of print media. And then we had a press call, and she said, how in the world did you get all this press? How did you manage it? She says, I'm not even a known commodity here. How did you even get it? And I said, 3 words that nobody uses anymore. Please and thank you. Please, I would love it if, I think that your listenership at the radio station would love to listen to her story and where she's come from. And she's from Montreal originally. And I think it would be so fantastic. And would you mind? And please and thank you. And every time they did something, I would fire out a thank you note. Well, what do you think is going to happen next time I want coverage? And some other publicist is coming along for some Joe that's coming in that they don't know, but they know the gal who says please and thank you. It's the basics, but we forget. But they're still valid. So be mindful of your manners that way. I'm not trying to be your mom talking to you, like I got 3 kids. I know what that's about. It's just so relevant to your brand. It really is. So I have what I call the EASY method, EASY. Excitement, appreciation, simplicity, and you are your brand. You are your own ambassador to your story. Handle with care. Excitement, appreciation, simplicity, and you. Keep things simple. Don't complicate them. Ask nicely. Ask with short paragraphs. People don't want to read a whole ton of stuff. Appreciate every single time that you have a new follower, somebody, Valerie, you've got this amazing new community and you've got people that are showing up all the time and making comments and you're there. You got to handle all this with care. It's part of your brand, because when the time comes when your book comes out, all these people are going to go, oh, she's the one who's always there and answering and paying attention to us and making us feel like a community. They're going to then want to know more about the project that you're working on and your book and your coaching and everything that's going to come from that. So, I'll, at the end of my blog, I had something that I have called to be 23. So these are the 23 to be characteristics. Okay, and it's in the blog, so they're there. You can go and copy paste them. They're worth. And what I say, it's what your mama taught you. Okay, these are things your mama taught you. So be kind, honest, generous, understanding, grateful, appreciative, patient, respectful, courteous, mindful, calm, gracious, unique, articulate, professional, inspiring, polite, trustworthy, thorough, accurate, comprehensive, noteworthy, and available. Always be available to your community. And always be available to show up as yourself. That beautiful, perfect, fantastic person that you are with all those qualities that you've just listed. That is part of who you are and who your brand is. And then all the branding and everything, that all follows. It's all going to be in harmony. It all is going to be in alignment with who you are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions? No questions. I'm going to go into the chat. See if I have any questions in the chat. I don't think so.
Carolyn?
There's a Wanda comment. If you don't have anything to say, nice to say, don't say anything at all. Yeah, I grew up with that one too. Yeah. Yeah, yes, who? Somebody was just asking me something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought about something. You know, when we talked about different things that we post, and sometimes, you know, there's a thing that I've learned to discern when I want to post something a bit more edgier.
Yeah.
That could create. I try to make sure that it's not coming from a space of my own fear.
Okay.
You know, if it's good content, you know, if it's something that you know that it's important to you, you know, to share. There's a difference between not sharing because, you know, it's not in alignment, or because we're afraid. Because something I've learned, like I didn't plan to do the videos that I've done and shared. That happened after I released the mini documentary and stuff I've done. Lots of times before I go to share, my heart is racing, and they're usually the things that make me the most afraid when I share them. I've come to learn that they're the most important.
Yeah, because you're sharing vulnerability.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I just kind of wanted to make that a point, because sometimes if you go to hesitate, just check in with yourself. Is it out of alignment, or is it because it's out of fear?
That's a very good point.
Because it's very tender and it's very subtle sometimes, because there's times when I post stuff, when I'm finished posting, when I press send, I'm crying. Because it's like, oh my God, what have I done? But I know that it's not because of the content is not what needs to be shared. I know that it's my own discomfort.
Yes.
And they usually tend to be like the best ones, and I'm like, really? Oh my God. So
but you share a very deep part of yourself online, and you can tell that particular brand of yours. I mean, when your book comes out, which is completely in alignment with everything that you've posted, you'll see how all of that fits perfectly like a glove.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of us are building our brand every day, even though we're not intentionally going out to build a brand. But
yes,
every time
definitely.
you're posting on social media, every time you share something onto your page from the news, if you're constantly sharing things from the news cycle about the disasters, and you're giving more energy to all of these things that are going on, it doesn't mean that they're not going on. It just means that we choose not to give our energy to them. And if you're constantly posting that stuff and sharing it on your page, and you're that person that people learn to go to for the disaster information, you're not setting yourself up in a good place for any kind of brand. So even the shares, you got to be mindful of, because you're constantly. So just keep in the back of your mind how, okay, I am my brand. I know that now. I've really, I'm building a following, whether I know it or not, I am. And I'm going to have a book that's coming out, and I don't want to alienate one single person, because you don't know who you're meant to inspire. So you don't want to knock anybody out of your audience.
No.
Right?
And people watch.
Well, people watch
Oh my God.
all the time. I
did not realize. I have people that read my comments. They tell me, they're like, I just love reading all your comments in the comment section. Like, you read my comments in the comment section, even stuff that they don't. I'm like, okay. Not that I've ever thought about that, but I've grown into the fact that when I'm out there publicly, people will watch. But it didn't freak me out. I was kind of surprised by it, but it didn't freak me out, because I know that if I'm going to write something, it's coming from this space.
Yeah.
There's a few on my community page, like Beautiful Disaster. There's like a following of 330,000. In a 2.5 years that I've had it, I've only had to block 5 people. So I already know the energy that I am bringing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one person that actually said, "What kind of fuckery is this?" And I felt in my gut it wasn't hostile. So I responded.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Do you want help? Would you like to learn more? Is there something?" And that person actually wrote back privately. So I asked him if he wanted to do it in private. And that's what we done.
Yeah.
So it's, again, it's all
So
about this
you're building
feeling.
your brand effectively, and you're doing it consciously now. And this is the kind of awareness I wanted to bring to this particular subject. And so I've got a few more like this that we're going to do. Like I'll do an author spotlight next week, but after that, in the off weeks, we do the teaching and then we do the author spotlights. So I've got your author brand part 2. Okay, it's going to come up.
Yay!
That's going to be social media and promo visual savvy. Then we're going to do author brand part 3. Press kits are not just for press anymore. I've done a million of those. Really important to have a press kit. And your author brand part 4, media madness. I'm going to teach you how to handle media with kid gloves. How to get the coverage you want by using some pretty simple rules. So we'll cover all that too, because all these things are going to be part of your shameless self-promotion that will, integrate into a lot of that as we move along. It's like, okay, we're doing a pre-sale campaign. What do I have to do? Am I bragging about myself saying I have a book coming out? No, you're promoting yourself. You're telling people what's coming. You want them to buy your book. You have to let them know you have a book. So there is some confusion sometimes. I've come across that an awful lot about a hesitation. I think, Jenny, you said it feels almost arrogant. There's that. There is that I'm going to hope to try to kind of explain through it so that you see what this distinction is, so you don't feel a resistance to self-promote, because that's all part of the author's odyssey, right? To get to where you got to go, you've got to learn all these parts of the journey along the way. So I will bring you some more of that in the next classes. So Jenny, I know you have a question. Go ahead.
It was just actually, I wanted to share, well, with everyone, but Samantha specifically, because she had mentioned about how, like, sometimes you're not aware of who's watching or whatever. And I'm not at the same kind of platform or level where Samantha's at yet, but I was back in Guelph. I live in Waterloo now, but I lived in Guelph for a long time. And when I do my guild, because I'm part of a storytelling guild, that's my storytelling part of who I am. I had gone to Stone Road Mall just to get my nails done or whatever it was. And I was walking out and someone came up to me and they said, "You're the storyteller." And I never even thought anyone would think of me outside of the storytelling. And, I never brush anyone off anyway. It's just not who I am. But I mean, at that moment, like, I represented the guild. Like, I wasn't just me. Like, it was like, how I interacted with that person is now going to affect whether they come to any guild events in the future.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And so it was just kind of a cool thing. Like, they couldn't remember my name, which was fine, but they're like, "You're one of those storytellers." I'm like, "Yes, I am." And
so you owned it. So that's really, really
yeah,
good.
But Samantha, just what you were saying, it just made me sort of associate that. And as I talked to Carolyn and I work with Carolyn, I realized that I think the big thing for me right now, the transition between the personal stuff I'm going through and everything, is that I don't realize the impact I have, and I'm beginning to see I figured I was like this little thing just floating around, and it's like, no,
so much more. I'd just like to say that no matter how big the following, because sometimes we like the big following that I have, but I'll tell in the 330,000, I could have been 2 million, but I knew I wasn't ready for that capacity back. I knew that I couldn't serve from where I needed to then. But no matter what, even if you have 10 followers.
Yep.
And I've learned this, you treat everyone, and I promise you, no matter if you have 100 followers or 1 million, it won't make a difference. because it's how you feel and then how they feel. And I can almost cry saying it, because this is where the connection that we're all longing for, because we all want to know that we matter. We all do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and so that person noticing you, you know, and it's because you are important.
Yeah, exactly.
You are, and your
This is
reach
the part
will
that you
ripple
want to
far
walk
beyond.
Yeah, you want to understand this at your deepest level. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like back in the theater world. Okay, if you're doing a show and you've been rehearsing your show and it opens and there's an audience of 500 or there's an audience of 1, you give the same performance. It doesn't make a difference. You play to what we call the cheap seats. Okay, it doesn't matter. They bought a ticket. They made the effort. They showed up. They deserve the same performance than if there were 500 people. So if you learn to treat the one person the way you would treat a following of 300,000, then you'll be well equipped when the 300,000 becomes what it becomes, because you've treated the 1 and the 5 and the 10 with respect and dignity and in alignment with your brand. You know,
and it's a learning process.
We need to come out of hiding. You know, get out, stand in center stage, take your place. It's where you belong. It's where you're called to be. We're here to do God's work is what we're here to do. We're all here to serve, right? So, and in what capacity we do that? Well, that's what you get to decide. What is the brand? Who are you? What is if you're an author or creator or whatever it is you are, we're all authors in the room. That's what I teach, because that's what I'm very passionate about, storytelling, and everybody's story matters. Yes, Jenny.
Sorry, this is the storyteller. I mean, can I just quickly have like 10 seconds just to explain, because it's killing me. You were talking about the P's and the Q's. Yes. I'm a very Brit background too. Yeah. And so I like to know where things come from. And so that phrase actually comes back from the turn of the century when it was only men in the bars. And you're in England, and it's your pints and your quarts. So what would happen would be a wife coming to find her drunk husband, and the bartender would call it, "Mind your P's and Q's," and they'd all hide their booze. The wife would come in, drag their husband home. They'd all bring him back out and continue to drink. So sorry, I had to. It's been killing me.
I'm so glad you said that. Now I have to wonder why my parents would tell me that, though. So they clearly didn't know where it came from.
No, but that's where it comes from.
That's my Brits.
But it was about manners, right? It was about manners. It was about the ladies coming in, hide the booze because that was the etiquette, and then, bring it out in pints and quarts. So.
And you know what? The same rules apply today. Yep. It's just people forget that the basics are so important. They never go out of style. You can't ever lose by having integrity and your character way up front, way out ahead of you. It'll never serve you wrong. So think of that as you're preparing your books to become part of the world, and know that, you have the power to create whatever kind of brand you want. Base it on who you are and really take ownership of all your amazing qualities. That's what it's all about, right? Not getting caught up in those stories that you've kept, the tape running over and over and over in your head.
Yeah. I just love that European Q is the opposite. It's not hiding, it's showing. And that's part of what I love, because the original is hiding and you're talking about showing. So I love that flip, and it's just the imagery. And anyway, you're awesome. But
Jenny Q, the storyteller, she is in the house.
I don't know anything, but I know stuff like that.
This is you being you, Jenny. It's awesome. It's so good. It's so good. I love it.
I'm very obscure, but it's all right.
You're you, and that's what's so perfect. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to call it, I think, a branded night. If nobody has any questions, you can always reach me. You know where to reach me, by email or on Facebook. Reach out if you have any questions. The recording will be sent to you, so if there's anything in here that you want to do, you will be able to do that. Okay, thank you everybody for sharing your evening with me and for investing some time. I really love it. I love our Wednesdays together, and Thanks again. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see y'all soon. Okay. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.